All right, now, beautiful people, let's get this party started. Today, we want to reveal, explain, illuminate, and simplify. This is intro number, let's say, 7. We'll talk about the common denominator today. Wow. We all have 2 hemispheres and 1 brain. It's amazing how these 2 hemispheres that's inside of this 1 brain can cause all of our issues and all of our problems and all of our concerns. Everything stems from the common denominator. So as we move forward today, we want to talk about, as we introduce and prepare for July the 15th, hopefully everybody's already signed up. If not, you want to go ahead and sign up. I think we're still at the $75 mark or the $100 mark. At the end of, I think we said the 13th, we go to the regular price of $125. And each and every person on this call, there's a battle going on. And we talk about this a lot, but we want to talk about it today from the perspective of understanding that the problem that's causing all of this is a lack of respect. So when we start disrespecting ourselves, it makes it easy for us to disrespect everyone else. So at the base and at the core, we want to clear up the air. It's kind of like if you have a bird and it's flying and one wing is fighting the other wing, then the bird is not going to be able to move forward. It's not going to be able to, gain any altitude. Because if you're a bird and you got 2 wings, but both wings are attached to the same body. So that's the problem that we have in society today. We don't have the ability to understand that we have 1 brain. But inside of our 1 brain, we have 2 hemispheres. All problems, all issues stem from that common sense yet unknown phenomenon of the 2 brains. It's common knowledge that everybody, I haven't met anybody that don't know that we have 2 hemispheres, aka 2 brains, but we don't realize that the 2 brains is that's causing the issue. That makes us lame. Because when you understand that the less or the least amount of attention that we give blank, the more blank fades away. But on the same token, the more attention that we give blank, the more blank amplifies. And it's extremely important, brothers and sisters, that we tap into understanding blank. And so today we want to reveal, explain, illuminate, and simplify blank. And blank is the common denominator. That is the spiritual force. That is the essence. That's the power. That's the electricity that powers both hemispheres of the brain. So regardless of what type of a brain you have, whether it's a good brain or a bad brain, no matter what type of a brain that you have, that brain is powered by a source. And it's extremely important that we over and understand that how do we now take that one source and create multiple options? Extremely important. Because what's happening is we're taking that one force and we're saying that it's evil, or we're taking that one force and we're saying that it's good. But it's still the same force. It's still the same frequency. It's just like plugging multiple outlets or multiple cores into one outlet. It's very important that we be able to tap into the bottom line of the common denominator. What is the root causality of all reality? Lack of respect. We call that religion. So religion, spirituality, simply means that each and every one of us have a perspective. We have a cultural system that's transmitted into a reticular activating system that powers the other 2 hemispheres. So the reticular activating system sends frequency waves and vibrations to the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. It's interesting that they say we got 2 hemispheres, but in actuality we have 3, but the second one is the base. That's why it's at the base of the brain. If you look at the brain, the reticular activating system sits on top of the spinal cord. And so really, that's the plug. It plugs into the two hemispheres. So your brain is a asymmetrical brain. It's a lateralization is what they call it. And when you really tap into it, it's amazing when we think about that. Okay, we got three brains, but we don't talk about two brains because the third brain is the source of that powers the two brains. So if that power is, I ain't gonna say it's good or bad. It's just the way that power is routed or transmitted to the two options that you have. And so my job and your job is to, okay, now how do we now neutralize this feeling that it's evil or that it's bad? Because the root cause of all issues is a lack of respect of how the system works. It's how we view things. Because everybody that I know, they have an opinion. And if you don't really understand how you formulate your opinion, you're in trouble. So all I do is I just sit down and I ask myself every day, is my viewpoint moving me in the direction of my God-given purpose, my desires? Now think about that for a moment. Each and every person on this call, you have a viewpoint. And you do everything based upon your viewpoint. Your entire life is structured around your viewpoint. The viewpoint, however, is never talked about. In basic biology says, let's look at physics. Like physics says, for every action, there's an equal reaction. So we need positive actions to counteract negative actions. Or do we? Because see, if you really look at life in the way that we all act, our actions that we take, these actions that we take is a cycle. Look at your actions. You keep repeating the same cycle over and over and over again. And it's very important that you stop and analyze why. What is the common denominator? What's fueling? What's the source of that action? It's not the electricity. It's not the reticular activating system. So the reticular activating systems get blamed. I talk about the reticular activating system all the time. But I don't really talk about how the reticular activating system works, the RAS. Without understanding that your reticular activating system, it just manifests or supplies power to whatever you give your attention and your time to. It doesn't choose for you. It doesn't delineate between good and bad. It's very important. There are some people who believe that, they're born or that they're cursed or that you just developed. We all have multiple options. We all have multiple ways of seeing and not seeing the world. It's extremely important that we slow down and do the process. That's the whole point of the next 5 months and the whole point of Agenda 25, because it's getting ready to get more crazy. There's going to be more have and have-nots. You're going to see that the people that love America and the people that hate America, it's going to be more division. That's their plan, though. They want two wings to fight each other. If one wing is fighting the other wing, the bird cannot fly. If your left hemisphere is fighting your right hemisphere, your brain cannot think. You stay stuck and trapped in the loop. Most people that I know, their left brain is fighting the right brain So they're stuck in a loop. And if you're stuck in this loop, then you cannot magnetize yourself. Because we live in a world where energy is the currency of this universe. So energy is the currency of the universe. Without energy, you can't see because it's what you currently see, and it's your currency. It allows you to move forward. And so when we understand that, okay, when you pay attention to something, you buy something. So when you pay attention to an experience, you buy in that experience. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just your attention. So my only question is that what you want to purchase? It's like when you go to the store and you buy something, what are you buying? Well, usually you buy what you want. Most people, they don't buy things they don't want. I don't know about you, but I don't knowingly, if I don't like, I'm a vegetarian. I ain't going to the store and buying meat because I'm a vegetarian. And if I'm a meat eater, I ain't going to the store and buy a bunch of rabbit food. So why do we do that when it comes to energy? Why is it that when it comes to energy, we're willing to put our energy onto a person, onto a place, and onto a thing without the intent of buying and purchasing the thing? Now, again, I'm talking about when you put a lot of time and a lot of energy into something, and there isn't an there's an agreed upon destination, especially when it comes to like relationship and partnerships and all of that good stuff. As long as both parties agree that, okay, we're going left, and both parties are, sign, let's use the word sign a contract to go left. Okay, let's go. We're going left. So the universe works upon you signing a partnership between the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere, the brain. That just simply means that, okay, when you got to put your energy into it. So when you allow your consciousness to focus on someone or something that annoys you, you're feeding your energy so it reciprocates you. You get more of that annoying experience. Your attention feeds the energy. It keeps it alive. It allows for it to grow. So why would you put your energy, your time, and your attention into any frequency, wave, vibration that you do not want to go? And it's amazing that when we really think about it, we have to slow down and analyze how our brain is fighting itself. And we have to slow our brain down by looking at the left wing, left hemisphere, the right wing, right hemisphere, is still attached to one body. Both hemispheres are inside of one brain. That's what we call meditation does to activate what we call telekinesis. Your ability to slow your brain down, both reasons, both parts of the brain, and, we talk about love and compassion, we talk about reason and logic. But at the end of the day, it's how we become magnetic. So for you to become a magi or magician, to become magnetic, to activate singularity, you have to become one. You have to free yourself from yourself. You got to allow yourself to get out of your own prism, your own cage. And it's extremely important, brothers and sisters, because it's amazing when I just look at my own brain. My brain never turns off. I used to hate that, but now I love it because it allows me to think outside of the box, like we talked about on yesterday's show, and we're going to get more into that during the agenda as we start breaking down different ways by which to amplify yourself by connecting to different programs and government. Like I tell you guys, I was going to continue it, but I want to wait until I formalize and finalize a few things before doing more and talking more about the different programs that's available whether we're talking about like Section 8 type things, or whether we're talking about partnering with the VA caregiver program, or whether we're talking about foster care and adoption. There's so many different options, Airbnb. But the whole point is to do income generating activities. And your brain is stopping you from becoming magnetic. Being magnetic simply means that you are engaged in income producing activities. Because otherwise, we find ourselves feeling, as we talked about in the 3 keys to the universe: money, power, respect. I don't care what anybody talks about or what anybody says. Without those 3 things in your life, you're in trouble. What I mean by in trouble, I mean you won't be able to marry and become magnetic. Because to become magnetic, to become attractive, it simply means that now you're really stepping into dissolving the limitations that block your ability to see your own worth and your own value. That just simply means that there's something that has you stuck where your left hemisphere is fighting the right hemisphere. These two are not working together. So the whole point of life is to get to a space where reason and logic and love and compassion work together. They don't work against each other. So I have a lot of love and compassion. I also have a lot of reason and logic. So I'm a very logical person. But at the same time, I'm really, really creative. I think outside of the box. And so which one is more powerful? For me, my creativity. So my creativity is way more powerful than my reason and logic. So I have to be careful because my creativity gets me into a lot of trouble. And my reason and logic keeps me out of trouble, but it also keeps me from manifesting. So I got to harmonize reason and logic. 2 plus 2 always equals 4. 2 plus 2 would never equal 4.5, 5. So if you don't put no energy in, you can't get no energy out. Reason and logic. Creativity is different from reason and logic. See, creativity is more the spooky science. Creativity is quantum physics. Creativity is spirit. Excuse me. Reason and logic is more biology. Reason and logic is more 3D. Reason and logic is more solid. There's no gray. It's black and white. Reason, logic. Up, down. Left, right. Speed limit is 55. You're going 56, you're going over the speed limit. So I pull you over and I give you a ticket for driving 56 and a 55. I don't know no cop that would do that. If they were to do that, it would be legal. Because the law is very specific. There is no gray. But we have something called common sense. Most cops use it. Now, some don't. So common sense tells you if somebody's just driving 1 mile over the speed limit, okay, you want to catch that guy that's going through that 55, doing 85. Whoa, because what's the purpose of the speed limit? Safety. The purpose of the speed limit is just not to write tickets. But a lot of people don't have common sense. For whatever reason. It's common, but as you all know, that shit is not common. I know a lot of Negroes that don't have common sense. Even though we say everybody does, that is not true. There's a lot of people that do not use common sense. They don't have the ability to marry reason and logic. So the root cause of all problems is the inability to marry reason and logic with love and compassion. 99.999% on the planet don't have the ability to marry. The left hemisphere and the right hemisphere, they don't work together. So the left is the analytical. The right is the intuitive. So the left is reason and logic. The right is love and compassion. Your job is to create what I call clutternomics. So clutternomics is whole brain, one brain thinking. So no matter how creative I get, I make sure that I keep my feet firmly. I take a lot of risk, but I make sure those risks are things that I can live with. So before I take a risk, I ask myself, what is the worst case scenario? And then I look at it, and then I make a decision. Because can you live with the worst case scenario? If not, then maybe that's something that you shouldn't engage in. So when we look at the brain's hemisphere, we're talking about the map of illumination or the map of the Illuminati. So what the Illuminati majors in, they major in understanding that the brain is this wetware that uses software and hardware. And it brings about enlightenment. Enlightenment is just this feel-good feeling that allows you to operate in a state because you know, you don't wish, you don't hope, you don't ponder, you don't dream. You know. So if you're in a bad place right now, if you are an Illuminati, if you are illuminated, that just simply means you understand that, hold up, I can use my detailed, oriented perception. And I can add to it a holistic perception to create and to manifest the desired result. That's all it means. And so that gives you an unfair or fair advantage because your back is never up against the wall. Because you are able to take flight and land. Could you imagine a bird where the left wing is fighting against the right wing and the right wing is fighting against the left wing? So when the bird goes to take flight, it doesn't elevate, it doesn't get off the ground. Well, that bird will not be able to escape any danger. And so that bird will be somebody's lunch. And so what happens when it comes to understanding, we got two hemispheres in one brain, and the third part of the brain is the source, it's the power, because it's a step down or a regulator. So your brain, my brain, it has a regulator. In electricity, they call it a step down unit. In other words, you may have, let's say, 220 volts, but your house only needs 120. So it's going to drop, it's going to step it down. Then when they have amplifiers, because the house may have 120, but it needs 220, so it's going to amp it up. That's what the reticular activating system does. Your brain needs to have a regulator, a modulator, that's called the reticular activating system that stops your brain from overheating, stops the brain from having to look at a bunch of things that are not needed. So what you have unknowingly done, which we've all done, we told our reticular activating system, based upon what was frequently repeated in our childhood, that having more money than bills is not important to us because we didn't put focus, discipline, and order on bills or money when we was little. So we just went out and played. We wasn't like most of the dominant culture kids where they learned how to read the Wall Street Journal before they was 8. It was buying stocks. They could do business plans, and they were not taught to be workers. They were taught to be managers. They didn't learn trades. They learned how to run businesses and companies, to buy. Now, we learned electricity and plumbing. They learned how to create corporations and how to sell stock. So we have a totally different reticular activating system. So the reticular activating system programs what gets into the left brain and the right brain. So if you don't reprogram your reticular activating system, so that way you can get more electricity, more source, because the reticular activating system, for most people I know, is a dumb down unit. It blocks out God. It doesn't let God in. So unfortunately, no matter what I'm saying today, your brain cannot interpret anything that is not previously approved by the reticular activating system. So your EM, your electricity and your magnetism, is dumbed down because somebody programmed your brain, and you haven't reprogrammed it yet, which is what we're going to be talking about for the next 5 months, how to reprogram the brain, get into the quantum physics of spirituality. So we can really, really delve down and delve deep into what I call energy consciousness and energy psychology to get into the true, how to truly spiritually awaken your higher consciousness, where you can literally tap into source, which means I'm going to make sure that my reticular activating system is allowing in everything I need for cellular ascension on a consciousness level. That means I'm going to expand my reticular activating system so that way it allows in more light, more frequencies, more waves of vibration that harmonizes with what I call spiritual downloads. And these spiritual downloads allow me to tap into what we're talking, some of the solutions that I was talking to you guys about yesterday, especially if you are already, which is one of the things that I was doing, like when I had my daughter Shamora, the reason I was bringing in, and I had, my niece, because if I'm already taking my daughter to a neurologist, and because she suffered from seizures, well, my other niece that we took care of, we were getting a check for, even though, again, we technically didn't get the money because we really didn't need it. So we were sending it to her biological father, so the biological mother found out about it, and they started arguing about the money, blah, blah, blah. But the whole time, we were still taking care of Tori. Same thing. So I'm a veteran, my wife's a veteran. We got a big ass empty house. We know veterans, the wife. I don't really go to the VA. I just filed a claim. So my brother got approved. Should have filed it about 30 years ago, but hey, they need to. But if they're giving away free money, I'm not going to pass it up. But one of the options that we talked about is, again, that veterans program, where you can bring veterans into your home to get them out of a nursing home so they have more of a what? Family environment. They have home-cooked meals. And here in Texas, it's $2,800 a month. So that's one of the programs I'm going through the whole program before, again, I want to get the experience of it before I really start talking about it. But I want to mention it to you because, hey, so now that's like with the Section 8 thing. If the people are able to see the vision, we can all get together, 4 people, 5 people, 100 people. We start buying houses all over the place, go through the Section 8 program and this process. That way the money does not come from the individual. It comes from the government. Why? Well, the government prints money. All I got to do is go to the machine and click, 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 and just print it. So it's a lot easier to get money from the guy who's printing it. That's what the dominant culture does. You know how many clients? I know when we started a coffee shop. The fact that the wife was a black veteran who went to war to qualify for all kind of grants. Although at the end of the day, we did not get one of them. Because it was ran by black folks, that was the first problem. And then number 2, it was just a very cumbersome process, and they were just kind of giving it to people that, y'all know how black folks do. But the program was available. Same thing when I was homeless. Like what got me back on my feet, government program. So moving forward in 2025, since these good old boys are trying to create a greater division by creating a bigger gap between the haves and the have-nots. One of the big things going to be is food. You can see they cut out the water to all of the Idaho farmers. They burned down most of the chicken and beef and poultry. Fishing is being outlawed. Okay. Well, you guys got to realize what their agenda is. They want your ass in a FEMA camp. They don't want you living off the grid. So we got to start. This is all of the things that should be in your left hemisphere and your right hemisphere, so that way you are creating a common denominator where your both reason and logic, love and compassion are working together to create and make you into a powerful spiritual force, so that way you become a weapon of God. You become weaponized. The dominant culture can't put you in a box. They can't put you in a cage. They can't neuter you. They can't use fear against you. Because that's the only power. The only power that they have is to make sure that you feel powerless. So as long as I can make you feel like, oh, shit, man, got chemtrails in the air, fluoride in the water, man, the whole world is, you wake up every morning and you're not happy to be alive. You're just like, man, this world, because remember, it's true. I ain't saying it's not true. That's how the system works. The system will give you two truths and tell you which one of those are not, which one of those are not true. But they both true. But I'm going to collapse the one that I focus on. So is the glass half full or is the glass half empty? Because that line in the middle of the glass, it did not move. The line in the middle of the glass, right now, are you broke or are you rich? There's a line. How come you believe you broke? The line is still the same. But make sure y'all understand the game. This is how they play the game at the highest level. You look at the same line I'm looking at. We both got the same amount of money. A lot of people don't believe that because they don't understand what money is. So you should have asked me, okay, Doc, if I, how do I get money? I used to get money by working 3 jobs. I did that, all the way up to my early 40s, probably, mid. And then I had an epiphany. My epiphany was, why am I working with my back? Because when I was young, I liked it. I loved working out and getting paid. That's what I told myself. I was working in a warehouse packing boxes at there's this big grocery store in Texas called HEB, and I used to work at HEB. I was an order selector. I was right on the forklift. I would jump out, pick up a box, throw it on this pallet. Once the pallet, I would stack it up, 10, 15 layers high, drive it over to the truck, then the guy, and I would just park it there, and then another guy would take it over and load it into the truck. Then we would switch out. Then I'd get off from that job, and I would go to UPS. And then at the UPS, I was a stacker. I was inside of these hot-ass trucks in Texas, sweating like a hooker in church on the front row, doing altar call. I loved it. So when I got off, I didn't have to go to the gym. So when I put my headphones on, I put my music on. Where I've been, I would grab a box, I would drop down and do a squat. And I would stack it. And my supervisor and coworkers looking at it like, this nigga's crazy as fuck. They used to ask me all the time, like, bro, you own something? Hey, no, man, I just figured I'm getting paid. When I get off, I don't have time to go to the gym. I'm going to get my workout in while I'm on the clock. Then I'll go home, sleep for like 3 or 4 hours, get up and go throw peppers, roll them up. I would take the kids, get up at about 3:30, 4 in the morning. Papers had to be delivered by 5:30. We'd be sitting in the park, and if it rained, I would go home and park in the garage. And I had one of the biggest routes because I had 3 kids at that time. Man, I did that for years. I loved it. Then I started getting older. I was like, you know what? I ain't going to be as youthful and as strong as I am forever. And the light bulb came on. It's like, maybe I need to start working with my brain instead of my back. Then I got into metaphysics and science, and I started researching religion. And I came across the Council of Nicaea, and I started reading about your boy Constant Installation. Y'all call it Constantine. Constantine. I don't even know if it was a real dude or not. But then I found Constantine's Pope. She's a real dude. Constantine's Messiah. And then I started reading about the Messiah, doing more research, and I'm like, oh, snap. Somebody's lying. And my whole worldview was destroyed. But from that day till today, I'm still rocking and rolling. Mind over matter. It simply means that the ability to use your brain instead of your back. But use your brain for what? How do you structure your thoughts? Because your reticular activating system determines how you use your brain and your back. So I have to examine my reticular activating system. See, we all have the same spiritual force, but it's regulated, it's modulated by your reticular activating system. So I'm talking to you right now, and if you have a problem, like I had a dental problem, most of us immediately go to a doctor. I immediately go to the internet. I got a money problem, internet. I got a health problem, internet. If I got a wisdom problem, internet. If I got a relationship problem, internet. Because what does the internet mean? Now we got AI. Oh, shit. Should have gave me AI. Because I didn't really need it. But now AI allows me to do what I've already been doing faster. Now, I was already doing it faster than anybody I know. I was already writing, and like maybe about 2 books a week. Now AI, I can do like 2 books a day. Easy. Like easy. Probably 5 a day. And you talking about easy, like taking naps and shit, working out. But you can do a book with AI in like less than 5 minutes. A good 300-page book. Well structured. Because it's all about prompting. It's wild. But then you should ask the next question, which is, nobody's buying books anymore. But everybody can do books now. Unless those books are on topics that you don't have access to, but they don't know how to ask the right question. Why? Their reticular activating system would not allow them to ask the questions that I ask the artificial intelligence. Because remember, you live your life on the level of your awareness. Your reticular activating system determines your awareness. You do not have access to the awareness level that I do. Not you personally, but How come though? Everybody has access to it. But very few people think because their brain hasn't been destroyed to the point, to the level where you stop and go, okay, what if in the movie Godzilla versus the last one was Godzilla and the King of the Monsters? Yeah, I think it's called Godzilla King of the Monsters. And Godzilla, look at the word, Godzilla. Now he was favorable to inject him. Of all of the monsters, the last one I watched, there was a monster that was before Godzilla, and it had multiple heads like Hydra. Remember we talked about that show? Hydro Genes. And Monster Zero used sound to summon up the other monsters to fight against God. Zilla. Ooh-wee. It's all in the movies. They telling you. I just don't know if y'all listening. So how come I watch movies? I can't just watch movies. You know what Zilla means in Hebrew? Shadow. So we are in the shadow of God. A hologram is a shadow that is cast when something stands between the light. So we live in the shadow. So our world is a shadow of heaven. Like it says in the ancient text. There was an individual in the Bible named Zillah. Also, is one of the wives of Lamech. I remember Lamech was what? Methuselah and Noah's granddaddy and pappy. In other words, Lamech lived a long ass time. So that means he was an Anunnaki. Now we ain't got time to break down, the lineage of most Sodom. Exposing, and expanding to you today is Leviathan, which means large sea monster, and Godzilla. You might want to do a little research, like I did. Then they found that Leviathan, Godzilla, lived in the inner earth, and he's powered by radiation. But radiation is electromagnetic radiation, frequencies, waves, and vibrations. You just watch the movie Godzilla, King of the Monsters, or King of the Sea, or Head of the Monsters, whatever it was called. All of that has a specific meaning. But like every movie I watch, they're telling us something. They're like watching The Simpsons. Because they put it in plain sight. Some people can't see it. How come? Because they have particularly activated systems that doesn't allow them to see it. How come? Because it's not important to them. How come? Because they have not been exposed to enough error. How come? Because they're sitting on the sofa reading. They're not making mistakes. They're not living. They're not trying different things. Because when you go out, you only learn, my brothers and sisters, when you experience lessons. So there is time crystals, or what they call quantum DNA crystalline activation. So when you are engaged in any type of an experience that creates a problem that you can't solve, it activates the quantum crystals and the magnetite and calcite, which gets you outside of the time loop. Because now you're telling the reticular activating system, let in some more information. Because the information that you're letting in doesn't solve my problem. My mind needs to expand. I need to think outside of the box. I'm thinking, I've been trying to solve this problem. This problem is still here. So the reticular activating system searches your DNA. And it finds one of your ancestors who hid the secret to that problem in your DNA. Or you attach to one of the arcs. Because time doesn't exist. Time is just a measuring device. Time is not a thing. Time is a machine that measures a thing. Time is like a fragment. It's like a piece of limited perception of reality. Because everything that has ever happened in the past, everything that ever will happen in the future, technically, is happening simultaneously. Because there's no such thing. Think about it. We are measuring as, it's like a parade. So the beginning, the middle, and the end of the parade only passes you by when you're on the ground level of the parade. Now, I got to say something that might challenge your brain cells a little bit. Follow me. I'm a turtle Okay, let's say there's an ant, there's a turtle, there's an ostrich, there's a giraffe. They're all watching a parade. Excuse me. The ant, the turtle, the ostrich, and the giraffe all have different viewpoints, perception, awareness, consciousness, reticular activating system. According to the ant, who has the lowest advantage of viewpoint, the ant can only see what's happening right in front of him. The ant cannot see the beginning or the end of the parade. He can just see the parade, the float that's right in front of him. Now, if we look at the ostrich, we look at the giraffe, the higher. They all got, I'm missing one. I said one other animal. Anyway, if we notice, the viewpoint expands the higher you go. Say it again slow. Your viewpoint expands the higher you go. Say it again for the people in the back. Your viewpoint expands the higher up you go. Your job, go higher, my friend. How do you go higher? What does it mean to go higher? Let go of your limiting beliefs. How do you let go of your limiting beliefs? By focusing, extracting discipline and order only on what? Love, joy, peace, gentleness. In other words, my desires are already fulfilled. Your brain is going to tell you, no, they're not. Then the brain is going to tell you how you're going to fulfill them. Your job is to create the feeling that they're already fulfilled. How do you do that? How do you feel rich as you go? Think about rich things. What are rich things? Your health. Number one thing that you have right now, if you woke up this morning, or somebody did not wake up this morning. Like, I can walk down a flight of stairs with no pain. So I think about the things I have. Yeah, I had, biologically speaking, I had 5 and I have 4 children. So I'm thankful that I have 4. I'm aware that that Shamora's not here. I also have 2 what I call bonus kids. So I'm extra blessed. When is that term? I have the activities of my limb. I'm in good health. I'm sitting in the hotel room on vacation while the wife is out fishing, and when she gets back, we got to pack up, get out of here because Hurricane Beryl is on the way. I think we're about that's like a 7-hour delay before the shit hits the fan. Or maybe a bit more, because we may leave early in the morning. But we're supposed to be here for like 3 or 4 days, but that's not happening. Because I know it's supposed to tear down on Sunday. But what's the point? Right now, it is, man, I posted a picture this morning on Facebook. It's amazing. I'm looking outside 24 hours from now. This hotel I'm in may not even be here, based on what some of the people are saying. But I'm looking like it's the quiet before the storm. It's so beautiful. Birds are chirping. I went out this morning to sit by the pool. I'm like, man, this is a cloud in the sky. Couple of little clouds. I mean, the sun is out. It's like fucking 95, 100 degrees out here. Then I click on the news. People are panicking. They boarding up their house. They putting sandbags everywhere. I'm like, if you watch the news, viewpoint, advantage, this I didn't have TV. Like last night, I didn't even check today. The TV didn't work last night. That means something was going on in the atmosphere that the satellite signal didn't get through. Like, called on the front desk. TV's not working in my room. Oh, yeah, yes, sir. We don't have reception in the whole hotel. What? Nobody had reception. But I was able to get the internet. So I checked the internet. It's still out in the Gulf of Mexico. Perception. So I could be sitting in this hotel. And if I don't tune in, the news is blasting. But if I don't tune in, your money is blasting. You ain't tuning in. The money's there. The news, but my TV's off. What if that is the only method that I think I can access the weather? What if I don't know I can put up my cell phone and I can get the weather not only in Texas, I can get the weather in New York, I can get the weather anywhere in the fucking world on my cell phone. But what if I don't know? What if? What if? What if? What if? That's the only way you got a money problem. It's the only way you can have a health problem. Man, cancer was solved in the 1730s by Jethro Cross. I got the book called Back to Eden. 100 grand, you can prove it wrong. Shit, it was solved way before Jethro Cross, Otto Wallenberg. I think Royal Raymond Rife was before him. What are you saying, Doc? So why the fuck do the YMCA Church on Cancer Day? People die of cancer today. People still dying of AIDS today. They cured AIDS, tuberculosis, cured every known disease to mankind. But yet people die of disease every day. Somebody, please explain that to me. There's a lot of ants, brothers and sisters. I just hope to God you're not one. Because if you're an ant, you have a left wing and a right wing, and both wings are fighting against each other. You cannot take flight when a bird-eating predator comes along. You got to lift up off the ground. Your ass is not meat. It's called failure. Failure to launch. Failure to launch is just an absence or the inability to expand the reticular activating system biologically. The only way that you cannot expand the reticular activating system biologically is you too focused on the problem. The first thing you got to do is withdraw. First thing you got options. Y'all guys know how many times I hear people tell me that ain't nothing I can do. Shit, that's always something I can do. That even if I got to spill my ski mask, that's something I always got options, bro. You ain't got no options. When I don't have options, that's when I make options. See, you have something called the God gene, my brothers. You have something called the God gene, my sisters. The God gene was developed by my boy, Dr. Dean Hammer, way back in the day. He came up with this idea. When I was in the military, they called it the VMAT-2. You guys remember that? Now, so you guys, I got that VMAT-2 shot. VMAT-2. Vascular monoamine transporter gene 2. You should check it out. I fucked your brain up a little bit, but it changed your life. So when you understand that, hold up, wait a minute, time out. I got the VMAT-2. I got 2 hemispheres. They both inside of one brain. But the only reason that I'm limiting is because of the fact that my 2 brains, they don't work together because the reticular activating system is not allowing in the information into the brain that allows me to expand my consciousness to see that the glass is half full. So I'm watching a parade. I'm an ant. But what if I'm watching a parade and I'm an eagle? What is the viewpoint of an ant? How high up can the ant see? I'm asking for a friend. So what if you're an ant? You have an itty-bitty viewpoint perspective. But what if you're a chicken? Can you see a little bit better viewpoint than an ant? Then what if you are an ostrich? Okay, a little bit higher. What if you're a giraffe? Okay, come on, preacher. Now, giraffe, they can see over the top of the trees and stuff. Giraffes are pretty tall. But a giraffe is not an eagle, bro. A giraffe is not an eagle. Who got the best viewpoint? I'm watching a parade. According to the ant, the only thing the ant can see is the float that's right in front of him. So according to the ant, there is no beginning. According to the ant, there is no end. There is, but the ant cannot fucking see it. That is the average Negro. They can't fucking see. And they follow that ant. But some of y'all Negroes are ostriches. Some of y'all are giraffes. Very few Negroes are eagles. You know any eagles? I don't. It's almost impossible. How come though? Reticular activating system. As I said at the beginning of the show, it's nobody's fault. We was all born into religion. I just got out. I've been doing this for 30 years. I'm helping people get out. That shit is ingrained in your bones, not your DNA. Religion is in your bones. It's in your bone marrow. So unfortunately, that's what the Bible talks about, them bones, them dry bones. It's about go into that scripture that talks about to wake up them dry bones and dead bones. Because once religion get into your bones, you're dead. You can tell religion. Because it's legion. Not only the demon, but it's like a legionnaire. So when you are in religion, you literally are a legionnaire. When you become a legionnaire, it's like you are joining an army. And when you join this army, you got to take a rank or a position. And it's just like in the military or any other organ or organization. A legion is a unit of 3,000 to 6,000, usually in an ancient Roman, all roads lead through Rome. Roman army. Return to the horde or the host or the brigadier. That's what legion means. Now, legion also means, from a biblical perspective, many. A group of related daimons, but daemon means knowledge. So religion really means return to massive knowledge. Religion really is what I've been doing for the last 18 years. Religion is when you replace experience with knowledge. That was smart, man. Like, I've been doing this for a long time. And it never fails. I love fact checking myself. I wouldn't volunteer. I wouldn't want to do anything else in my life. Everybody has, different things that they spend their time, their energy, and their money on. I'm a solitary person, like I talked about in the book in the series that we did in the advanced class. And when I wake up every morning, I fact check myself. And it never fails because I know my bones, they won't let me be satisfied. I can't even explain it. The people that really, really know me, sometimes they get frustrated. Because they all know that I'm not satisfied. I know that satisfaction is the father of ignorance. Because in the 80s, the first time I made my first meal, I got satisfied. And I got satisfied because I got knowledge. I got knowledge because I hooked up with a bunch of Jewish guys that had experience of taking Willie Lynch Negroes' money. And I didn't understand, because nobody in my family that was alive anyway. I found out later that my, had ancestors that had already been there, done that. That's why I was doing it, because it's in my genes. I thought I knew, man. It's like, because Everybody was nice and very helpful, and they wanted to see me succeed. I just didn't realize that your enemy is an enemy in your own household. It wasn't anybody else's issue but me. Meaning my own brain. The left wing was fighting against the right wing. Reason and logic was fighting against love and compassion. I didn't overstand, and understand what I'm telling you, the root causality of all reality. I didn't understand it. It is religion. Because religion is nothing but a narrow viewpoint. I just wish that you can't transfer knowledge. It's like I was talking with my son about the jab. And I was like, how it was all set up and how everything happened. It was, he had an ex-girlfriend who worked in his company that was promoting it. It was kind of like when I worked at the coffee shop, and this guy was going around doing AIDS testing in a black neighborhood, and he was a good friend. He was a reverend. He would come to say, hey, man, I want to come to your coffee shop, and I want to set up, I want to do this service for our community. So, and I asked him, well, what is the false positive rate? He said, about 50%. Like, oh, what? Say that again? About 50-50. So you need to tell me, what's a government program? Well, I think you guys just said about the government. He was getting checks from the government. That's why I started doing it. What? I was like 30 years old. I was getting checks from the government to take inmates out of prison and bring them to my coffee shop and let them perform on the stage, because they was less violent when they was expressing themselves through rap and through poetry and through music and through song and through art. All my art that was on my wall was from the inmates, from the prison. So I had a contract with the Bureau of Prisons. This ain't my first rodeo, man. I've been doing this shit since the 80s. But the problem we still got is the same problem. Your reticular activating system does not allow you to see. So the only thing you have to do is you have to question the nature of your reality. By questioning the nature of your reality, you do what I do. When my back is up against the wall, is God telling me there's a group of demons that is prohibiting you from seeing that you are wealthy, healthy, wise, and in great relationship with yourself, with your God, and with others. So that means you got an ant-sized viewpoint instead of the ego. You got to expand your consciousness and your reality. Your consciousness and your mentality. The only way to do that is to realize that people, everybody, most people, 99.99%, they have good intentions. But their good intent is limited by their perspective, their life experiences, their religion, their culture, their race, their gender, unfortunately. So none of us are God. We are God, but we don't have the perception of God because we're limited by our bodies. So I just want to hang out with people who have less body limitations. And there's not very many people who have less body limitations. Because if you have less body limitations, you are very sensitive. You're very emotional. You cry at the drop of a hat. You fight tears. I fight tears every day. It's very difficult for me to hang out with people because people are very insensitive. When I disrespect somebody's feelings, that bothers me the most. I pride myself on knowing other people's feelings. Now, I purposely disrespect a lot of people's feelings. But when I unintentionally, due to my inability to pick up what God is telling me, like I'm telling you right now, because God is telling you, same thing He's telling me, because there's only one frequency. So I know what God is telling you, same thing He's telling me. But I know you're probably not listening. Like I know that when I'm not listening. Because when you're not listening, you're not sensitive. When you're not sensitive, you're not aware. When you're not aware, you got body limitations. That means that you're limited by your five senses. You're not operating in, you're not walking in the spirit. We all do that. That's religion. That's the system. The point of the next 5 months is to try to remove as much of your five senses as possible so that way you can walk in the spirit. When you're walking in the spirit, you're walking in money, power, and respect. But the number one problem on the planet is religion, which is respect. It's like math, music, and language. So what's the problem? Language. We got work, we got education, we got religion. We got money, we got power, we got respect. We got math, we got music, we got language. So at the bottom of all problems is number three. In order for us, in order for you, whether what we talked about at the beginning of the show happens, whether, we go out and buy properties and set up Section 8, and whether we do the VA care program or whether we buy laundromats and whether we do all, tiny homes and hydroponics, all the stuff that we talked about and, I've been talking about for years. My daughters were telling me, Dad, I remember when we was babies and that drawing you had, it was called Largest Enterprises back then. And we did it. My vision was it was all in the same building. All my kids have their own businesses. All of them are doing great. They got multiple businesses, in fact. But it all started with a vision. It all started with an ideal of combining the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere because they both exist inside of one brain. And if all of us combined our left hemisphere and our right hemisphere and stop fighting against each other and fighting against ourselves, you would activate your intuition. You would help people. You would totally vibrate. You would never have to have an argument or a disagreement because you would no longer be the vibrational equivalent of a person. They would just vibrate out of your life. You would never, ever have to disconnect from yourself or connect. People find you. You ain't got to find them. Every business deal, every client, everybody on this call, how did we meet? Do y'all remember how we met? How did you find me? It probably was a TikTok video, or YouTube video, a Spreaker video. You ran across a video, you ran across a show, you ran across a book because you asked a question. That question that you either said out loud or that you thought was, is this truth? The only way you can find me is if you question the nature of your reality. The only way you can find me is if you're frustrated with the limitations of your current expression in the areas of wealth, health, wisdom, or relationship. The only way you can connect with me, because that's the only way, that's the intent, that's what I ordered. So when you vibrate away, when we separate, it's because of my intent. Remember, hyper-intentional limbic system activation. They used to call it NLP. That I learned back in San Diego in the 80s. Back then they called it neuro-linguistical programming. You see, but there's nothing in my world is by accident. There are no coincidences. Everything is by divine order. That's why I love God. I serve, I love, I hang out, I communicate. I'm in a personal, private, productive relationship with Source. So every day I wake up, I take a deep breath. Just like I did this morning. I'm sitting in a hotel room with a hurricane, supposedly on the way. Wife is out fishing. Beautiful day. Everybody was running around last night panicking and stuff. It's amazing. I never had those feelings. Whether it was when my daughter Shamora died or when my biological father died or, when I was 6 months behind on my house payment. No matter what comes or what goes. We went from a group of 50, close to 50 people to now down to starting a brand new group. It's amazing, man, my life experience. I've seen so many high highs and so many low lows. I would not trade my life with anybody. I know I've seen people who have great lives and awesome. But brothers and sisters, let me remind you as we close today, this is the only life you have. Even, as everybody say, okay, yeah, like I was saying earlier today, just like in a parade, there's no such thing as time. That's just a measuring device. So depending on your viewpoint, your past, your present, and your future, they all exist simultaneously. You get to collapse and live on the level of your height, of your perception. If you raise up your perception, if you go higher, so the higher up to go, you can see the beginning of the parade. You can see the middle of the parade. You can see the entire parade. You can see it moving down the street. You can see all of the floats. You can focus on, there's the choir, or there's a band, or there's a high school band, or there's some old folks, or there's this. You can look at any float. Y'all remember the Macy's Day Parade? They used to have it every year. They showed on TV. I don't even know if they still do it. But they would pick out one float at a time, and they would highlight it. But when you have God's viewpoint, you see all the floats simultaneously. But you get to select which float you like the best. You get to collapse. You get to go onto that float. Every time they would always have usually a convertible vehicle, and they would have a very attractive lady sitting there, and she's Mrs. Such and such of the parade. You could look at that float. You could also look at the float where they have the mariachis on. Or you could look at another float where they got, a clown juggling some bowling balls. Or you can see, the Boy Scout. Or you can select whatever float that's in the parade that you want to collapse. When you look at it, you collapse it. When you give your attention to it, you communicate with it. When you take your attention away from it, you stop communicating with it. All I'm asking you today is, who are you communicating with your intention? Your attention is your intention. A lot of people are confused because they say one thing, but they do another. So once you understand that we all structure our reality with our mentality, you are an expression of God, because every thought creates a feeling, every feeling creates an act, and that expression comes from your consciousness, and that consciousness is God in action. Whether you're aware that you are God in action, whether you are aware that your consciousness is the trans-personal identification, whether you're aware that you are what they call self-forgotten, we all drunk the Kool-Aid. That's the only way you can be here. Your job is just to wake up to your own millennial melanin greatness, which simply means that the science behind your intuition states that intuition is the influence of the or non-conscious emotional information of your state of inner oneness, which simply means that the entire right side of your brain and your hippocampus contribute to the creative process of your unconscious brain. In English, you have a sixth sense. Your sixth sense is your offensive and your defensive mechanism for projecting your future potentials into the conscious mind, which then creates the physical reality. You are a holographic, non-local expression of God on earth. You live through the bio-emotional energy that is generated from your quantum holographic field or your quantum holographic information. In English, you have an unconscious brain called the reticular activating system. In English, your reticular activating system only lets in frequencies, waves, and vibrations because it's protecting your brain from being overloaded with too much information. So your reticular activation system is saying, based upon what you repeated to it, that created feelings of discomfort. Your reticular activator, he does not want to feel that. So let's block that. There is no energy exchange. See, when you respond to a person, place, or thing, you open an energetic connection with that person, place, or thing. When you do not respond to that person, place, or thing, you do not open that energetic connection with that person, place, or thing. When you do not respond to the frequencies of wealth, you do not make an energetic connection with wealth. Therefore, you're telling the reticular activating system, block out all opportunities for wealth. Because you are putting all your attention on your bills, on your problems, on your situations. So your attention is how you order. Not your prayers, not your mantras, not your money, your attention. Energy flows where attention goes. So my only question to you is, who and what has your attention? But since I love you, appreciate you. See you guys later on tonight, or we'll see you mañana. God bless.